let's get into Slamboree 1996. The pay-per-view is in Baton Rouge at the Riverside Centroplex. Attendance just under 8,000, and Arn, this show had everything. Tag team is drawn by random lottery, otherwise known as the Lethal Lottery. There's chaos, there's great wrestling, there's total confusion. And I want to start with none other than the Road Warriors, because they end up here being with WCW for about 6 months. Arn, this is their last appearance for the next 5 years. They're done after this event. Any idea or remember anything about they're here for 6 months and now gone for about another 5 years after this? Do you remember this at all?
What were those dates? What was the
so
date?
This is May 96, meaning 6 months back, probably around December, the end of 95. They would have come in and they signed they said their contract was up. I guess they signed to a short-term 6-month deal, and then they're gone for about 5 years.
Ooh, wow.
And you know what? Let's think about this. Road Warriors are gone, but we know who's coming. The bad guy and the big guy, and a lot of other big contracts are going to start coming in the door. It could have purely just been a financial decision, honestly, at this point. Who knows?
Could have very well been. That would make the most sense.
Yeah. I don't think there's really any other reason. They were still effective in the ring, still a great tag team. They would go on and work well in WWE together, WWF at the time. So, there's that. Let's talk about the Lethal Lottery, because this is something I know you're not a massive fan of, this whole concept. They got Ric Flair teaming with Randy Savage to face you and Eddie Guerrero. I mean, that's pretty combustible, isn't it?
At that point in time, we hadn't established what a tremendous talent Eddie was either, right? He was like an unknown.
He was coming out, that people were starting to know that he was the real deal, but yeah, not to the level that he would eventually get to in WWE. Yeah.
Because that would have been just, again, Monday morning quarterback. And that would have been a point that we could have really featured him in a lot more of the match and let that be the story of that match. Because Rick and I were still partners, we were still best friends and all that. I don't think the fans would have looked at Rick and I as probably going to go at it. You were going to have something involving Randy and Eddie, and maybe that would have been a perfect time to come out of it with a different ending to the story. Maybe Eddie was the one that shined.
And instead, it just ended up being more chaos and more storyline for Flair and Savage, because that's exactly, what happened. Things go sideways fast in the match. You DDT Eddie, Flair pins him, and then you and Flair absolutely destroy Savage. After the bell, Liz slaps him. You hit a DDT on the floor, which looks vicious on TV. If you guys haven't seen it, go back and watch it. How much trust and coordination goes into something like that? You just throw him under the arm and here we go. I mean, Savage is all Mr. Intensity. Taking a move like that, it's just, I guess we're just lucky he took it well and knew how to be a professional with it. But man, that was a serious move, brother.
Well, the guy giving it was a professional.
You got that right.
And that never wavered. You won't find anybody out there, I don't think, and I may be shooting myself in the ass on this one, but you won't find anybody that I worked with during that era that I hurt due to recklessness. I don't know who it would be. I don't think it exists. And it was my job to make it look like a DDT, which it did, and make it vicious and make it safe. All those share equal value.
Not only did you make it safe, make it look vicious, you also made the promos sound vicious. So it was the whole deal. And that's what we can always say about you. And that's why you have fans that just love you and love your work. So that kind of happens. Everything goes all to hell in a handbasket. And I want to move on to the next round because it's Flair and Savage against Public Enemy, except that match never really happens because Savage music hits, no Savage. Flair walks out with Woman and Elizabeth, and Liz is literally throwing Savage's money into the crowd. Savage snaps, runs out, jumps Flair from behind. Security, along with guys like Bagwell, Guerrero, Riggs, they all have to hold him back. And then Public Enemy wins by forfeit, and the crowd is eating it up every second of it. And then here we go. WCW goes right back in with, well, Ric Flair versus Randy Savage. And it feels like every time, Arn, the company needed a main event story that worked, boom, they go back to Flair and Savage. What made them just such perfect opponents? They always delivered those two with the dynamic.
Quality of the match. I think if as a fan, when it came to, okay, now they're going to be no longer partners but fighting each other, you knew what your expectation was, and you got it. I'm sure they tore the joint down.
Well, Flair's the ultimate antagonist, and Randy's the guy that's going to give it back viciously in a beating and mouthiness. I mean, it's just like two sticks of dynamite. Arn Anderson said Flair and Savage made everyone happy except for Vince. That's hilarious. We move on. That was good.